She was calm, she was collected, and she was calling for her life. It was January 17th, 2008, and 21-year-old Denise Amber Lee had just been kidnapped from her home in Northport, Florida. Hours later, she managed to dial 911 from her abductor's cell phone, and a dispatcher listened as she bravely whispered the details of her terrifying situation. She gave all the clues a kidnapped person could, but despite that, no one reached her in time. This is the true story of a 911 call that was heard but not answered fast enough. In the quiet neighborhood of Northport, Florida, life moved at a peaceful pace. Denise Lee was at home with her 2 young children, ages 2 and 3, while her husband Mike was out running errands. He worked as a plumber and had come home around 3 p.m. that day to find the front door wide open. The kids were alone in the living room watching TV. Where was Denise? Mike had no idea. He immediately called 911. As he frantically searched the house and the surrounding area, officers arrived and began asking neighbors if they'd seen anything. It was odd. Nothing had been stolen and nobody had witnessed anything suspicious. As the hours passed, the police grew more and more worried. What had happened to Denise Lee? Meanwhile, somewhere in Sarasota County, Denise was inside a car, struggling to stay calm. Her kidnapper, 36-year-old Michael King, was driving around with her. Earlier that day, he'd asked her for directions, and when she went outside to help, he grabbed her and forced her into his car. Now, she was on the phone with a 911 operator. She explained as calmly as she could, "I've been kidnapped. I'm in a car. I don't know where I am now." She knew she needed to be smart. If she screamed or drew too much attention, the kidnapper might get angry, and things could get worse. She whispered the make and model of the car, a red Dodge Caravan, and tried to give the dispatcher details about her captor. He's got a goatee. He's bald on top. He's wearing a black shirt. He has a tattoo on his neck. She said she believed he was heading toward the interstate. For over 6 minutes, she talked to the dispatcher, staying on the line as long as she could. Then the line went dead. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened. Maybe the kidnapper grabbed the phone, or maybe Denise had to hang up to hide the noise. What the dispatcher didn't realize until later was that Denise had actually dialed the 911 operator from Michael S.'s cell phone. That meant the call went straight to the Sarasota County Sheriff's office, while Denise was being held in an entirely different jurisdiction. This meant that precious minutes were lost as the call was transferred to the Northport Police Department. But that wasn't the only close call. Incredibly, there were several other 911 calls made that day by people who spotted the red Dodge Caravan with Denise inside. Some callers even reported hearing a woman's voice, and another said they saw a man holding a knife. Yet none of those calls were connected to the original kidnapping report. And so no one sent an officer to investigate. After what seemed like an eternity, Michael stopped the car and got out. Denise quickly unbuckled her seatbelt and ran to a nearby house, but it was too late. Michael had called 911 himself and told them he just dropped Denise off. Officers arrived and she was nowhere to be found. Tragically, Denise's body was found 2 days later in a shallow grave near the side of a road. An autopsy showed that she'd been strangled. Michael King was later arrested and pleaded guilty to first-degree murder. In 2009, he was sentenced to 40 years in prison. Denise's case shocked the state of Florida and led to major changes in the way 911 calls are handled. There were new laws requiring better training for dispatchers and better coordination between different jurisdictions. But perhaps most importantly, she became known as the voice that changed 911 forever. Subscribe to Last Words Lounge for more true stories. Every whisper tells a tale.